Okay, I've worked my dark green row right up to the top. Stop when you're even with the light row. Don't go and put another one up here because there's no side to join into. Your second row you must have your side to join into. You come back down the bottom and I put it down on the hot water bottle. Show you. You've got your light row down here. Remember it's going sideways, it runs diagonally. Your dark row is above that. Your next light one is here. If you started there, you'd be running your blanket to get smaller each row. So you've got to be a little bit tricky. You're always looking. You work it this way, but it runs that way in the work. So you're always looking for your right angle. So you've got one there, but that's the second square. Here, you haven't got a right angle. So you've got to make that bottom row. Join in there. Get the right thread and it might help. I always join with a slip stitch through. Now you've got to chain out, so you've got something to pick up into. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You only need 6, not the 7 that you started with, because you've got the join there. Now you're going to be picking up loops, so turn your chain over and work into those bumps along the back. And just pick up the loop. So you're not working into the V side of your chain, you're working into the bump at the back. And you've picked them all up. And don't forget the last one, which is a little awkward. You should have 6 on your hook. Now, the 7th, remember, is the join. 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th stitch down. And now you've got your 7 on your hook. You're going to start taking them off in 2s. And you go and find your bar, slip underneath that to pick up. From here, it's just that first chain out, so you've got something to pick up into. And you'll do that on every second row. So in my case, it'll be on the light rows. I have to chain out before I can pick up. The dark rows will sit in the right angle because they're 1 square shorter than the light rows. When you're working your entrelac, there are methods of starting with a triangle so you don't get the stepped edge. I personally prefer to leave all my triangle edges, my fill-ins, until the end. So I do all my complete squares first, and then when I'm finished for an edging, I come back and I put my little triangles in between. If you like the effect of the stepped edge, you don't have to put your triangles in to fill in, but you won't have a straight edge, you'll have a stepped edge. If you have a stepped edge, you do need to block your work because, see, it does curl. So it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 more row, and this will be the first square on the 3rd row completed. So my 4th row will be exactly the same as the 2nd row. The 5th row will be the same as this one, where you have to chain out before you've got something to pick up into. And bind that off, remember, loosely. And bind it across to this square. So, now I've got my right angle there, so I'll be able to pick up here and join there. Get up to here, pick up and join. Sorry about that abrupt stopping, the camera got full. So we were working from here and we worked up this row, the 3rd row. See how this dark square is completely enclosed? And you can now count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars that way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars that way, and it's got the join all the way round. That's why we started with 7, so we had the 5 for the centre and the joins for each end. The starting chain and the binding off are the bottom and the top of the joins. Okay, while we were stopped, I worked all my way up to the top, and I've got up to here. And there's no right angle here, but we do have to put a square on there so that we can completely enclose that dark colour. If we, like at the beginning, if we stopped one short, our blanket would turn into a triangle. If you like a triangle blanket, that's be an easy way to do it. I'll think about that. Anyway, from here we bound across and we bound over to that square. So we're going to pick up along the top of that dark square. One more. Previous to here, now the 7th loop would be the join. We don't have a place to join, so we've got to go over to that corner of the light square and join into there, and that will give us our 7 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that will be an edge, the same as we did on this very first row. Because there's no join there, we've got to go through 1 and then come back through 2 after that. So if there's no join, you're working, pull it through 1 at the edge and then 2. So we're picking up again through the bars. And don't forget the one on the edge, it's a bit hard to see. That's got our 7 loops on. You've always got to have 7 loops before you start taking them off. So 1 for the first one and 2 after that. Remember, if there's a join to join into, the join is your 7th loop and you take off 2 at a time. If there's nothing to join into, you've got to pick up the edge loop, or the very first time you've got to go into the corner of the existing square. The same as when you're binding off, you've got to bind across into the corner of that other square. And pick up. And the edge one. And then take them off, 1 at the edge and then 2 after that. You still do your 5 rows and you still bind it off at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 more row. I like the fact you're only working in little squares in this, and you can check frequently if you got the right count, and if you have made a mistake you can just pull out one little square. Or if it's on the previous row, sometimes you might be able to fudge it across like I showed you by counting down the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th one's still open, it hasn't been bound off. You always have to bind off at the top. Just closes that last row. Bind right to the corner, cut your thread and pull it through that loop. Now we've got our edge one. Now this side here is the same as the first row side, and I'll show you how to join into those next. Now when you're working, you've got your stepped edge. If you like the stepped edge, you don't have to do anything more with that. You can just, when you're finished, block it. Remember, this one will have the dark square in and then there'll be another light square up here. But I like to have a straight edge on my blankets, so I put a little triangle piece in there. I'll show you how to do that, and this is why I have my dark as the short row, because I like to put the dark as the triangle right on the edge. I like having light edges on my blanket if I can help it, because the edge is always dragging. Now I'll have a dark square triangle there, and I'll have dark triangles down here. I'll show you how to do down the side, because that works into this edge that hasn't got the V, and it also shows you how to work into that manufactured base row there. So that will be the next bit, is the triangles.